Welcome back, folks. This is the Rebel's Edge. I'm Jon Najarian. Pete Najarian will be joining me shortly, and we're going to discuss the 1,700-point rally that the NASDAQ has had since it bottomed at 15,227. We're going to have that, some sports, and, of course, Macro Minute on today's Rebel's Edge. Bang!
Off and running. Here we go. Rebel Nation, baby.
Welcome back, folks. Pete is somewhere warm, so am I, but I can't get out there right now. So we're going to have to settle. Yeah, we're going to have to. I would be sweating, Pete. It's 82, and the sun, according to my Apple Watch, is coming down at a 10.
Ouch. That's so, good and bad. You don't want to be in a dress shirt, though.
No, I don't. Well, folks, on the Rebel's Edge, we kick it off with Macro Minute. We give you fantastic futures, some stocks that are moving. We've got three, count them, three today, where we had unusual activity ahead of the actual move in the stock. So that's why we track using our heat seeker algorithm what's going on in the markets. We're going to share that with you and then give you a little insight into some of Pete's favorite sports topics of the day.
Yeah, got
starting right now. So let's hit the Macro Minute, Pete. Macro today, more or less the same as it was yesterday. The president is kind of hinting at certain modifications he might make to tariffs, in particular on auto imports from Mexico and Canada, but European markets certainly reacted to it pretty strong, Pete. The German DAX was up 1.5%. That's a pretty good, solid move. They've been pretty much following our lead every single day, and today they get a nice fat rally.
John, I'm going to say what I said yesterday, which is earnings do matter. Earnings are influencing the markets, and all you've got to do is go back to last Friday to get absolutely everything I'm talking about. And it's went yesterday. It's also happening today. I mean, when you look at what Bank of America has been able to do, Citi's been able to do, Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, you go through all these various names, BlackRock, Wells Fargo, Huntington Bank. I mean, we are in a position right now where everybody was getting a little bit nervous, I would say, at least to some degree. And I think that we're starting to get a little bit of those nerves to get pulled out of the markets to some degree, because all of a sudden you're looking at these earnings and they're crushing it, absolutely crushing it. And it's exactly what we said. We said, don't worry about the IPOs. It's going to be more about the investment banking side when it comes to all the different deal making that's going on. Well, everybody who's been reporting is talking about some of these huge deals, and these numbers, John, have been absolutely extraordinary, at least so far. I'm not saying that every financial is going to do it, but the ones who've already reported, just about every one of them had a very, very positive side to what's going on.
Well, as far as fantastic futures, Pete, I'll throw it out there that gold is up 8% in a month, and it's up 24% year to date. So, folks, I mean, if you're crying in your beer about how your portfolio did, again, when the NASDAQ was at 15,227, and today it's up over 1,600, 16,000, I mean, 16,000. Take a look at gold. A little bit of that in your portfolio, a little bit of that 24% move wouldn't have hurt. It might have helped a lot.
Yeah, I'm going to go right back to my VIX, John. I mean, there's something to be said when you can just look back, and it wasn't too many days ago. Last Thursday, we were trading at a 53 VIX. You know where we are today? You and I were just talking about it, so you do. 28. I mean, it gives you a little bit of an idea. We've broken underneath that 29 level, and we've said this time and time again. You get those big magical spikes to the upside that are absolutely gigantic, like we did. We were in the 17s. Before you could blink an eye, we were up as high as 60. We were up in the 55s. It can't hold up there. At least we've never seen it hold up there for any substantial amount of time. Well, if you go back to last Thursday, and here we are on Tuesday, we have gone all the way on a round trip, John, from 53 all the way to 28. That is a pretty amazing move. Will we get back into the teens? I think there's a possibility of it, but of course, a lot of that has to do with what does the president have to say today? And that's something that's going to be in front of us day after day after day, probably for the next 90 days.
Yeah, I can't help but agree with that, Pete. Well, let's talk about some of the stocks that were making big moves today, Pete, like Applied Digital.
Yeah.
This one just trading to the downside hard. Revenue missed expectations, despite the fact that they had a 22% year-over-year increase, and they narrowed their losses. That was an increase in sales, and they narrowed their losses. Yeah, that kind of stuff happens when you have that big of an increase. You're going to narrow your losses. But very strong activity in the stock, but not necessarily so great for the shareholders that were long, because that stock took it on the chin all day today, Pete.
Well, and they came out, John, and I think it's going to kill you every time. You've got to beat your earnings. You've got to beat on your revenue. If you don't, and then you can maybe save it with the guidance, maybe. It's not always, and there's no such thing as something that's locked up. But in this case, John, when you look at the revenue that they put up there, it wasn't just a little miss. This was a monstrous miss. So I think that is something that everybody clung on to. And then all of a sudden you started to get some of those analysts coming in there, John, and taking their price targets down significantly. As a matter of fact, Cantor Fitz dropped from a 14 to $7. Craig Hallam came out there and they went from $12 to $10. So not looking so great right now. The analysts aren't looking at this one as something that's going to start to take off again. This is a stock, John, that's traded anywhere between the low $2 range all the way up to $12.50. Well, here we are today trading in the upper $3 range. $3.80 was the last I looked. It's getting hammered. There's no doubt about it. I've seen it down as much as 30%. It was down 15%. They're selling. There might be some opportunities there, but they've got to show us something. They've got to show us that they can actually get those revenue back, because they missed in a big way. And that, I think, is really what hurt them.
And when you're a cloud player, Pete, you know, people, the other techs at the various companies that you're selling to, because you're not selling to individuals, you're selling to companies at their level. And, you know, the board is going to say, well, why are we with these guys? I've never heard of them. I mean, some board members might say that. And if they did, they might say, you know, why wouldn't we be with one of the premier players in the cloud space rather than these guys? Is it that much cheaper? Are they 100% uptime? You know, all those kinds of questions. I will say, Pete, also that it was $5.30 some odd cents yesterday. And so breaking through 5 dramatically and going through 4 means that a lot of companies are going to have to sell, because in some of their documents it says we don't own stocks that are less than $5. And so they don't have to necessarily sell today, but I think some people are getting ahead of it, Pete. That's why it's down 31%. All right, let's talk about Bank America. What a quarter, Pete, for Bank America. BAC. First quarter financial results, profit increase of 10%. 7.4 billion was their profit, Pete. That's 90 cents a share, a lot better than the 82 cents the street was looking for. And you know, I'm going to say it, folks, we had unusual option activity. We had people buying calls when the stock was under 35. Well, right now, mid-session, it's 38.22. So it's a very good day for anybody who listened to what the market was saying, right, Pete?
Oh, absolutely, John. And, you know, when you go through all the various numbers, you went through some of them. I'll just finish up with the net interest. That was up 3%. And then you look at sales and trading. That was up 11%. Was that something that we didn't have an idea of? No, we absolutely did, John. When we look at those volumes, and you and I talk about the option volumes far more than the stock volumes, but when you look at the stock volumes, throw in the option volumes that have been absolutely magnificent. We're averaging over 60 million contracts per day. So when they talk about some of the trading, yeah, there's some major trading going on right now, John. And I'll tell you what, Bank of America, I think the CEO has done an absolutely magnificent job of how he's directed the company, how he's been pushing in the right directions. And then you take a look at those deposits, John, 1.99 trillion. Across the board, Bank of America basically said, we beat. I mean, they just absolutely slammed it, and kudos to what they were able to accomplish this past quarter. this might have been one of the best quarters that I've seen Bank of America have in a really long time.
Well, that certainly was a pretty outstanding performance, Pete. Let's take a look at another stock that we had unusual activity in, Pete. I know you love these. Well,
I do.
This one, RocketLab. So RKLB, RocketLab, secured a multi-billion-dollar hypersonic program that they're participating in with the UK Ministry of Defense. That's fantastic. Hypersonic missiles, everybody was talking about Russia when they got them, Pete. Now apparently we are that close to having them be able to be deployed by us, and RocketLab getting a big boost out of this. Get it, Pete? Booster?
Rocket. Yeah, I got it.
Okay. But they traded all the way up to 22. Now they pulled back to just under 21, but the stock was mid-$19 level when the unusual activity came out for May 20s. And obviously those have boop, 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 to the upside, Pete, like a rocket.
Yeah. It's amazing how that works. Well, they got these great contracts, John, from not just the U.S., but also from the UK. So that was big. Across the board, everything that they were able to do this quarter was pretty strong. And that's what we're looking for, right? And they have a strong cash position. They've got also something that we talk about at Market Rebellion a lot. We've got folks who absolutely just pinpoint right on top of it, but they also have a pretty big short interest, John. So anytime they're going to start moving to the upside, it usually tends to be a fairly exaggerated move. I think that is what we were seeing today, at least early on when the stock, as you talked about, got up and over that 22 level. That was a great sign and a great opportunity for people maybe to consider the idea of lightening up, just because of the fact that that was added to that squeeze to the upside of, call it 7.5 or 8%. It did pull back a little bit. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that those sellers, they got that opportunity, they kind of pushed it back, and now just kind of waiting around again. But it's amazing how on these short selling, John, these guys, when they scramble, they start to scramble. And I felt like that's what really was happening with Rocket today. It was a great move for them. And the fact that they were able to get this done is great, especially with the UK on top of the US.
Well, I think the last one on here, Pete, is one we don't talk about that much. Yep. We all know the name, Hewlett Packard. And they're the guys that, of course, the founders were building computers in their garage in Palo Alto, I believe, or somewhere near there, Pete. But now they have since split it into two companies, and HPE came out with earnings that were better than expected, and they had unusual activity in this name all the way out to September. So what I'd emphasize for folks is that great things about options are, number one, they give you targets, like what strike are they buying? They were buying the basically at the money strike. Number two, they want to own this thing for May, June, July, August, September, 5 months into the future. So I think the people that are taking some money off the table today, that's not a dumb thing. That's a smart thing. But we'll probably see more upside if the smart money that bought in here is right about September timeframe as well, Pete.
Right. And John, when you look at the fundamental side of this company with $1.5 billion worth of free cash flow, not so bad. A PE that's in the single digits, which you don't see very often in this market, because everybody loves talking about, well, the PEs of these companies has really been rising. Well, in this case, not so much. So there is a lot of room to the upside. And I would think that that's part of the reason why Elliott Management decided to come in there, John, and put in, at least tell everybody about the fact that they've got this stake of $1.5 billion worth of stock there. That, I think, was big news, and it got people probably that much more excited. It's probably accelerating this move to the upside. What they're doing, they've done a really great job at it, John. And by the way, they're primarily the servers. We talk about all this different stuff when it comes to it. They're the server side of things. This could be something very big, especially with Elliott, because Elliott's going to come in there and they might try to shake things up just a little bit. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe there is more room to the upside that they can capture if they go through some of the ideas that Elliott might present to them. So as a top 5 shareholder, I think they're going to take that call and listen pretty closely, as a matter of fact.
Yeah. Well, you'd be foolish not to, by the way. Yeah. All right. Well, let's switch over to the NFL, Pete, one of your favorite subjects. What do you got for us today as far as the National Football League?
Well, I figured what we could hit on is this, John. Who is the best athlete in this year's draft? Now, I know everybody's going to say Travis Hunter. Pete, what are you even talking about? Who's even close? I actually think, John, and you've talked about this too, it's great that Travis Hunter was the Heisman Trophy winner. It's great that he's going to be either a receiver or a defensive back. And there will be games where maybe he gets a few plays on both sides of the ball. I think it would be a bad move, John, if they decided, hey, you know what? Let's listen to him and allow him to play both sides. I don't think that's a great idea. I didn't think it was a great idea for any of the other guys who have tried to do that, including Deion Sanders himself. I think it wears these guys out, and that sort of accelerates the potential for injuries. But there's no doubt that he is one of the greatest athletes that we've seen in a really long time. It's why he got the Heisman Trophy, because of all the numbers. How about this name, though, John? Because you and I talked about this not too terribly long ago when everybody was going to the combine. There's a safety. There's a safety out there from South Carolina, Nick Amenwari. Now, there's a guy. Now, safety is a major position in the NFL, although very rarely do they take safeties in the first round. This guy's going in the first round. I'm going to tell you right now, and here's why, John. The highest paid safety in football right now is Winfield down there in Tampa, whose father also played. He's the highest paid. Now, those guys that are really good, they're making in the 20+ million range. How about if I told you I got a guy who could probably play linebacker if it's a 3rd and long? He could play safety. He could maybe play corner if you chose to. 6'3", 220-pound guy who runs a 4.3 43-inch vertical. And half of the interceptions that he got this last year, he brought back for touchdowns. So this guy is a freak show. He really is, but he's not just a combine guy. This is an all-American safety at South Carolina, John, that really is unbelievable. And yes, I think he could play linebacker. You know, half the linebackers in the NFL these days probably weigh somewhere between 220 and 230. Well, this guy's 6'3" and 230 pounds. I think he could get up there if you needed him, if you wanted him. He could be an outside rusher if you wanted him. And how's that left tackle going to feel when he looks across at a guy 6'3", 220, 225 pounds who can come around the corner at a 4.3 40? I would say that left tackle is going to start shaking like a you-know-what and a you-know-where. So I really think that this is the best athlete in this draft this year.
Well, I'm going to say you're probably right, Pete. And Travis Hunter gets the accolades, and he deserves them because, you know, he did things on both sides of the ball for his entire career at Colorado, which were pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say probably Abdul Carter would be right there with him, Pete.
Yeah.
Because to your point, you just talked about the kid from South Carolina. This is Penn State, of course, Abdul Carter. But he's 6'3", which means he's really 6'4", because we all know how pros measure. They push that ruler down on top of your head pretty hard. He's 260 pounds, Pete. He ran a 4.48 at the combine. Now that is flying. So like you said, you've got, can you imagine if you've got that one kid, 6'3", 225 on one side, and a guy like this, Abdul Carter, on the other side, both of them running sub 4.5s, and one of them 260 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, he has to be one of the best players available in the draft. Mm-hmm. Now, he's got to fit your scheme, but I really can't imagine a defensive scheme I've seen, Pete, in the last 44 years that since I played football, that had these kind of numbers that you couldn't fit into your scheme.
Yeah.
In other words, he's not just an edge rusher that's light. He's a linebacker that can play edge rusher. Mm-hmm. And he could even play Mike if he had to, Pete.
Yep.
I mean, if you needed to bring in an extra D-back and take out a strong side linebacker or whatever, you could have him play the middle and then basically go back to the 46 defense that Buddy Ryan made famous. So let's keep an eye on that guy, Abdul Carter, because a lot of people are high on him. I am. I know you are. I love Ashton Genty too, Pete, but 5'9", 200 and whatever, 15 pounds. The kid is a beast. He runs low, like you've said. But as far as an athlete, I got to say Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter.
Yep. Abdul is unbelievable. I agree with you. I don't know how flexible he is, but I think he can play linebacker outside of just being a defensive end who can come around the corner. Like you said, with a sub 4.5 40, where and I'll tell you, I stood next to him, John. He's all of 250. I mean, I think he might be more. I mean, that guy is built like you've never seen up close, and very, very uncomfortable to look at. Like, holy crap, I hope this guy's okay with me standing here next to him. All right, John, next up we got the Major League Baseball. And I just thought it would be something, you and I talk about Shohei Ohtani all the time for all the right reasons. When we talk about him, why do we talk about him? Because we've never seen anything really quite like what he's able to accomplish and the ability that guy has. But I thought it would be kind of interesting just to remind people, if the Yankees happen to be in your town, I think you still got to always go see the Yankees. And what do I mean by that? Well, Aaron Judge is special. I mean, he's somewhere, John, in that pantheon of Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron and some of the biggest hitters of all time. Now, he's not gotten to the point where his numbers are quite there. But when you watch that guy play at 6'7", 280 pounds, by the way, I mean, that is a big human being. He's another one. I was at a Twins game, John. I'm sitting down the first baseline, and I'm looking at the guy just thinking, first of all, he looks like, some sort of bodybuilder. I mean, he is just chiseled. He's big as hell. And he's already, in 10 years, he's already got well over 300 home runs. He's got more than 700 RBIs. He's got a career average that's not too shy of 300. I mean, this guy is special. And I just think that as much as we love seeing Shohei and Ohtani and what he's been able to do already in an early part of his career too, but Aaron Judge, man, he's like that next level as well. I mean, he's not a pitcher. He's not all that kind of stuff, but just to watch that guy get out there on the field and do what he does, John, I think there's a good reason why the Yankees have paid him the money that they have. And it's also this year so far, the Yankees, the Mets, some of those really high-priced teams that are actually spending the money to be great, it's working this year. In years past, it hasn't worked to the point that it is right now, but we're 20 games in. It's a long season, 182 games, but it's going to be a lot of fun, John. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I think that, like I say, if he comes to the town, you got to go watch all the Yankees, but Aaron Judge is special.
Well, Pete, he's got 321 home runs, to your point. Shohei has 230, obviously not been in the league as long. What amazes me, Pete, is his speed, because when I look at, doubles or two baggers, they're both pretty close, even though, again, Judge has a lot more home runs. But you look at triples, Judge in his career, Pete, because like you said, he is a big man, five triples. Shohei, 37.
He's a freak, man. And he's big. He's 6'4" or 6'5" or whatever he is, and 225 pounds or something like that. He's a big man. He really is. So that's amazing. That's a big separation there.
Yeah. It just kind of shows you the speed differential. I mean, when Judge gets a double, that's impressive, of course, just like for anybody. But it's basically 177 doubles, Pete, to 168 for Ohtani. So like I say, they are neck and neck there. But then the speed differential for Ohtani to be able to get all the way around the bases to third, that takes a little extra. And that kid is also very special, Pete. So I agree. I think they both earn the money. They put butts in the seats. And that's what people want to see, is a player that can light it up like that and end a game with one swing. And they both hit for pretty good average, by the way. On base percentage, by the way, Pete, OBP, 407 for Judge and 371 for Ohtani. So as great as Ohtani is, especially in certain categories, Judge, like you said, is just enough better in enough of them that he's on base, basically his on base percentage 4 times out of 10. I think they pitch around him occasionally.
Yeah, occasionally, because they can't afford him to whack one out 500 feet.
Well, folks, we appreciate you joining us. Check out Market Rebellion if you would like to see more of that unusual option activity that Pete and I talked about in Hewlett, Packard, Enterprise, HPE, or APLD, or Bank America. All three of those unusual activity would have paid for your whole year just with one of those. So check out marketrebellion.com/get started to see all the educational materials as well as subscriptions. That's marketrebellion.com/get started. And we will be back. What time tomorrow are we back, Pete?
1
p.m. Eastern time. We'll see you then.